Welcome, Roseanna.
Thank you. Okay, nice to be on your podcast.
Thanks very much. Nice to have you. How's everything going with you?
Good. Yeah, so I've been trying to do more podcasts using Zoom and obviously Skype as well, just to keep creative, because I feel like being creative keeps me feeling productive and positive. Because if I stop being creative, then I'll just think about how uncertain this time is and start thinking, just worrying a lot. So the creativity just keeps me feeling positive.
Yeah. Are you feeling?
Yeah. So yeah, and I love to be creative. So yeah.
Same. I mean, are you finding that you can have the same creative output in lockdown as you did before?
In terms of meeting up with with my guests and stuff, obviously I can't do that, and I can't so obviously volunteer at First Sight. I can't be in that sort of creative environment that I like to be in. And in general, Colchester as well, it's like a really nice place to visit and feel creative in. So obviously in terms of visiting places, I can't, but I can still have the conversations, even if they are through Skype or Zoom, which is great. And I've been thinking about doing. Well, I did a video for YouTube, like an introduction video, and what I want for my YouTube channel. So.
Oh, nice, like a trailer.
Yeah, just to talk about. I'm hoping to do more podcasts and hoping to film them and have them on this channel, because I'd already put 2 out, but then I hadn't done an intro video. So I thought I'd do an intro video, even though I've got those 2 already on the channel. And yeah, so I did that like 3 weeks ago now. Still haven't put it out, but yeah, and it was kind of like, let's just do it, see what happens. Yeah, and I think I will put it out soon. I'm just holding it off. I don't know really. I'm just maybe a bit nervous because it's me, whereas with the podcast that I put out, it was an interview thing. So it feels a bit more personal, this video. So, but I will put it out, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, I only ask because, I, for one, have found it kind of difficult to be as productive as I usually am. I put that down to several things. One is obviously the restrictiveness of the setting. Like, I can only really do it in my house or something like that. And
yeah,
to be fair, I think a lot of my natural processes have kind of just been disrupted, really. So I'm finding it hard to. I certainly am not finding it difficult to come up with ideas, but I am finding it difficult to follow through with them. But I think the one thing that has come quite naturally is like continuing with the podcast, because again, most of what I'm doing at the moment is having conversations with people anyway. So it felt like a natural thing to continue. But
yeah, definitely.
In terms of other stuff, there's certainly things I have a whole list of things I'd love to do, but for some reason I'm not really finding the motivation to follow through with it.
Yeah.
Have you found that to be the case as well?
I feel like I've got loads of ideas, especially with the YouTube channel. And whilst we're not able to meet people, I can still do the podcast and I can still make videos. Like I have loads of film photos, and recently I made like a photo album, because it was something to do, keep me productive in the evenings whilst watching some YouTube. So I'd have YouTube on and then be making this photo album with loads of film photos that I've got, because I can't bear to throw them away. I find it really hard to throw away stuff. So I made a photo album, and I'm planning on doing 2 more photo albums with loads more of my film photos that I've taken of like my family and friends. So yeah, I feel like I'm still creative, but it's hard not meeting people.
Yeah.
Not being able to socially meet up with people. That's hard because I feel like I'm quite a social person. Obviously there are times when I just want to chill and stuff on my own, but like I love to see my friends when I can, and I love to chat, and I love to visit First Sight, I love to visit the Minories. So yeah, that's been hard not to be able to.
Yeah, I find it especially because I think I draw a lot of inspiration from stuff I get up to. Usually that comes in the way of, I don't know, having a conversation with someone, and what I mean, I think I take a lot of inspiration from chance encounters. So, whereas that's different to having something like this, where we've obviously pre-scheduled a podcast.
Yeah.
There are other things I just love, things happening by chance.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of those experiences whilst in lockdown.
Yeah.
There was, I remember coming back from my daily bike ride to witness a fire near where I live. A boat that was moored was on fire. And it was quite an interesting experience in terms of not just the spectacle, but also how people kind of gathered round, still quite socially distanced from each other. And it was this strange kind of spectacle that everyone was a sort of passive observer of. And it was quite sort of tantalizing, like just watching it go on, and everyone was sort of staring at it in complete silence. And I just found that it's difficult to explain. It was an interesting sort of interval in all of this. One of those moments where you sort of forget about everything else that's going on, and you just sort of watch. And to me, that's always been the purpose.
It must have been quite dramatic and like something you wouldn't have expected to have seen, I guess, on your daily bike rides.
No, especially as I live in it was quite a peaceful ride, and up until that point.
Yeah.
I think actually that's probably the strangest thing about it. Even though it was a raging fire, and naturally your first thoughts are with, is there someone on board? Is anyone hurt? Could this been a deliberate? But then it was quite beautiful. It was quite no. I tell you what, it was very peaceful.
Okay.
Strangely enough, like peaceful destruction of something.
Yeah.
And I actually feel for myself and a lot of people watching, it was strangely cathartic, especially when you're dealing with a lot of. I guess the stress of lockdown is a very contained kind of stress. It's a very internalized kind of frustration.
Yeah, because there's lots of uncertainty, and if I really think about the uncertainties, that makes me worry and stress. So that's why I'm keeping creative as much as I can.
Yeah.
The creativity makes me feel more positive and less worried.
Do you find a lot of the stuff that you're doing at the moment is very centered on lockdown life, or are you trying to get away from that?
It's not really about the lockdown. It's still about the art and what, like my friend's podcast that I did, the one that I did with my friend the other day. So last Saturday, it was about her being a tour guide, because we'd done like 2, and then the second one last year was about her being in the process of becoming a tour guide, so having exams and stuff. And then so this one was kind of like a part 3, in the sense that she'd done her exams, and she's now a tour guide. Obviously not now, but like, and so we talked about her being a tour guide and her experiences before obviously the lockdown. So yeah, it's not about the lockdown, it's about the art or whatever, it's about the creativity still, which I think is good. Because as I said, if I think about the lockdown too much, it just makes me worried and feel annoyed and angry
and I
and
feel
negative.
that's counterproductive as well. Like
Yeah,
there's really no point dwelling on things that you don't know about.
I
You
find
know,
myself asking my mum a lot of questions, like if she knows the answers, I'm like, no.
mm,
I just basically, I'm just like, there's lots of I don't like the uncertainty. I'm not a
well,
person that likes uncertainty. I like to know what's going on in my life.
yeah, of course, yeah, a lot of us do, but it's. I think I was reading something the other day that said one of the best things we can do is not dwell on, because the biggest question people are asking at the moment is when is this going to end?
Yeah,
And the piece I was reading basically said the worst thing you could do is dwell too much on that, because
yeah,
again, there's no set answer. All we can do at the moment is speculate. And
yeah,
whereas I love speculating about things, and it is a positive thing to do. We should ask questions, and we should. Um, we should hold people to account, and we should ask these questions
yeah,
and put pressure on people. But at the end of the day, too much curiosity killed the cat. It's a question of you're gonna make yourself you're gonna drive yourself mad
yeah.
if
I find myself dwelling more when I'm on a walk with my mum. So like we do every day, our daily exercise as part of our exercise. We go on a walk every day. And I find myself speaking to my mum more about, when do you think blah, 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 we'll be able to, when do you think I'll see my friends, or when do you think this? So I find myself dwelling more when I'm on a walk, but I need to not, because it ruins the walk, and then it
yeah
makes, my mum feel stressed, me feel stressed, so.
or
But
maybe it's a
today, actually, it was nice because I wasn't really talking about it. Actually, I didn't even mention it today with my mum, so it made a change, and it was
yeah
a really nice walk. So
well, maybe we're asking the wrong questions as well, or maybe we're focusing too much on maybe we're focusing too much on the questions of when is X going to happen, when are we going to reopen, instead of asking questions like what needs to change after we do go back.
we'll have to wear masks probably, or
Oh, I meant on a much broader
oh,
scale in terms of what kind of society are we going to have to
yeah.
have.
I guess it won't be like it will be different, won't it?
Exactly. Um,
People are going to be a lot more cautious and worried and careful about,
yeah,
they
that's
are.
one of my worries, that we may become a sort of more paranoid society in a way,
Yeah,
or a more distrustful society. But again, this is speculation, so it's good to ask these questions and to sort of think of contingencies on the, think about the future. But too much of anything will, drive you mad.
yeah. I just worry about my birthday as well in September. What will happen? Like, will I be able to see my friends or like, will it be like I have to do a massive Zoom party or something?
Plus,
Where
I
I
hope
see my
you know.
friends. I just,
Hope
yeah, so it's weird, or it's just like, yeah, it's just so much uncertainty.
yeah. So let's talk about your art then. I mean,
Yeah,
you're also a podcast host like myself, but one of the things that started it was your artwork.
yeah,
Can you tell us a bit more about that and what kind of artwork you do?
yeah. So, the artwork. So I kind of fell in love with sculpture when I was doing towards the end of my foundation. I realised that I love sculpture because the piece that was a sculptural piece. And then so I was going into my degree at Cultural Institute, knowing that sculpture was for me, 3D was for me. This idea that it's like it's something that you can see from all angles, and so that really excited me. So, and obviously I made my final piece in my degree was like this red den, and this idea of interactive art, I've grown to love, and the idea that you can not just see a piece that's on the wall like a traditional painting, the idea of actually experiencing the piece, like going into a piece of sculptural installation and having your senses blown or whatever, that excites me. So yeah, sculpture is definitely something I love. I love sculpture. But most recently it has been the podcast, because I haven't made anything 3D since the Red Den. So yeah, it has been the podcast most recently, which has been really nice because it's something different. It's art through a conversation, and each one is a different conversation. And I like the idea. I like telling a story with the guests, helping them to share their story. So it's a narrative, which has always been which has been the same with my sculptural work. I like to tell a story within the sculpture piece I make. So it's a narrative. It's always a narrative. So yeah, with my podcast has been the most recent piece of art that I've done.
Why did you start the podcast?
So I had an idea towards the end of my degree. I was thinking, I could do it with two friends. But then I realised, if I just start it, then they can come on as guests. So yeah, that's what I did. So after my degree, I later on, I started it in October 2018. I did it as an experiment, and I was visiting back at Crstrang Street, and it was when Iris was still just started studying in her first year, and I spoke to her and Charlotte, who was a girl on the course with her, who was in the year with her, and I did it as an experiment. I spoke to them about what it's like, and it was when they just started their degree, and that's why I want to do a part 2 of them. But yeah, so I did it as an experiment with them, and then later on did a few more, and thought, this is really cool, and this is like really fun. It's quite easy to do, just on my phone as well, just to record on my phone. And meeting people as well. I like the idea that I'm meeting people, different people, and usually it's been in Colchester actually, because I just like to meet up in Colchester. It's easier for me, and most of the people that I've got in contact have been based in Colchester as well. So, and I've been quite lucky. I've been able to record in the Minories a few times. Gemma's allowed me to use one of the spare gallery rooms before, so I've actually been able to use First Sight, a room in First Sight as well, so that's been good. I just really enjoy it. I like hearing a conversation. I like hearing someone else's story.
Yeah, I think that's what attracted me to doing podcasts as well.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my areas of improvement is to narrow down the field a bit. With I think when I started my podcast series, I was quite ambitious in the idea that people just want to hear about anything, whereas I think I need to focus it a bit more. And one of the things I love is storytelling and to hear other people's stories. So I think that now is the main focus of my podcast. It's tell me a story about yourself. And by doing that, you get to explore so many different topics. But I'm interested to know what draws you to art as a subject.
I think because my mum's an artist. She's a portrait artist. So I'm constantly seeing her paint in our house. And my dad did a bit of art. Well, he did his degree in art, whereas my mum didn't do a degree in art. But yeah, my dad's arty as well. Even though he doesn't do any art anymore, he did a degree in art. And I've got I've got musical. I've got 2 uncles that are musicians as well. So, and cousins that are creative as well. So I feel like the creativity around me kind of boosted my kind of art influence. And I always loved art when I was at primary school, actually. And I was able to once a week go to this art therapist and for an hour or something, and we'd do and I was able to make art with her. And I don't know, I had loved that, and I look back and think maybe that inspired me to like really enjoy art because it's quite therapeutic.
Yeah, that's especially what I found as well, especially when I've had more difficult times. I think to me, it's about the idea of creating something out of chaos, especially when things are not going your way. Which is what surprises me at the moment, that I'm not being more productive, because I thought, in the past, whereas art has helped me be constructive when things are very chaotic, it just feels different this time. I guess that's to do with some of the themes that my work is about. So mine is generally about society at large, and I guess when the majority of society seems to be shut down, it's a bit more difficult to comment on that. I mean, what are some of the themes that you would say you explore in your work?
Home, a sense of familiarity, comfort, and this idea of feeling safe. Well, especially with my den piece, which was at the Minerals last year. So yeah, maybe, who knows, it could be at first sight at some point as well. I'd love that, because it's a bigger venue as well, more modern as well. But yeah, with my den, it's very much that is based on a sense of feeling like safe and comforted. So the idea of when people go in there, they feel safe and comforted and at home, I guess, or it could be a version of home, and feeling safe and having a sense of familiarity. But with my podcast, it's very much on that person's creative art journey.
Would you say then that your work represents something about you in that regard then?
Feeling safe and comfort is very much, yeah, I like to feel, I guess because I like to feel safe and comforted and have a sense of familiarity. So I guess that's what I made my den. That's the intention of what my den was.
Yeah.
And is when it's, exhibited. And it fitted what Gemma, who works at the Minerals shop, Gemma Abbott, it fitted her exhibition as well that was called Lost in Wonderland. So it kind of fitted that theme as well for her. And yeah, it was so nice. She asked me. I was like, yes, of course I will have my den in your exhibition. I was like really excited when she asked me. So if I could have my den in. Yeah, and it was such an exciting opportunity to have it at the Minerals. It looked really cool as well in the Minerals.
And I've noticed a recurring, I guess you call a recurring aesthetic within your work, which is very dominated by the colour red.
Yes.
Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I love red. So I kind of grew to love red in my degree, and I was using resin. I was making resin figures, and I used resin. I made these red resin figures, and that strong red kind of instantly attracted me, and I wanted to continue using it in other ways. So.
What is it about the color red? I mean, it kind of. I don't know if you've ever seen the film Marnie. I mean, it's going to be very different to how you feel the color red. It's just.
For me, it's quite a. So I know a lot of people can think of it as like a negative color, but for me, it's the total opposite. It feels quite. It's like a powerful, exciting, intense color for me. I feel, I don't know, exhilarated and happy when I use it. So yeah, it's very much a positive color for me. And that's why I have a red phone case, and I have a red jumper as well.
Every time I see you, you're in red.
Pen. I have a red pen as well. I have multiple things that are red now. So yeah, and obviously my den is red as well. I've got a red beanbag in there, a red carpet. So yeah, even the pins are red that my mum uses to put the fabric up around it. So yeah, there's a lot of things that are red in my life. So. And
what would you say you're trying to achieve with your work? What is the goal?
I want to continue with my podcasts, definitely, and show them on YouTube. I feel like YouTube can be just a hobby, and with my podcast as well. I want to make. I'd like to do some more sculptural 3D work. Use silicone again and make some figures, because I made a life-size silicone figure that was my height during my degree. But I used blue silicone, and I want to try red silicone, and I want to make like a teenager-sized silicone red figure. So yeah, I would like to make some 3D sculpture again. But it's expensive, some of the materials, so it's finding a way. Yeah, so especially silicone is quite expensive. So, but yeah, the idea of trying out red silicone, making some red silicone figures, like loads actually, to make a massive figure would be incredible. Right now, I'm focusing on my podcast, definitely, because that's like quite easy to do.
And I'm curious to know what motivates you. I mean, I think that might be a selfish question for me, because it seems to be something I'm struggling with at the moment. So what motivates you to actually follow through with a piece?
I guess it's so if I'm happy with if I've got the material that I really want to use, and so like if my dad's able to help me as well make what I want to make, because usually they're complicated, so I'm not that technical, so I get my dad. So like my dad helped me make my silicone figure. I've got a red doll's house, which my dad basically made for me. So yeah, if everything is in place, then I feel like then there's a reason. Then it's like, well, let's just get on with it and make it happen.
Yeah.
If there's no if nothing is getting in the way, then let's just do it. Everything has to be all in place, and then I guess it's just like, let's go with it. And I like the idea of following through with something and finishing something, so that's like done now, on to the next thing. I don't know, I don't like the idea of having something that's unfinished.
Yeah, same. And to be honest, I think a lot of I think what mainly motivates me for my own good is, again, I think it is it's prudent to be selfish in scenarios like this, where it's more about, this is for me, I'm making this for me, I'm not making it for other people, but I will put it out so other people can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Instead of, because I think if you work too much with people in mind, then it's going to have an effect.
Yeah, I think I worried about that a little bit on Foundation, and on my degree a little bit. But now I feel like, no, my art's my art. I'd never sell my art, actually, though. That's something I have thought about, the idea of making money from my art, but I'm just so precious. I just don't think I could. Like, I guess if it was prints, so I've got, like, I was able to have some, like, little Polaroid prints at the millinery shop at my den. I guess if it's prints, then yeah, but actually, like, sculptural work, I don't think I could sell any sculptural work.
Well, there's also the I don't know if you're interested in 3D printing and stuff like that. So something that you'd look into?
Yeah, maybe. I'd definitely be up for selling prints or postcards, or the little like Polaroid ones that I sold, that I had at the millinery shop.
Do you worry that the work may lose its value if it's replicated in some way?
In a print?
In any way, really. If a work is replicated in, because, for me, even if I see, it's very strange because I own a lot of replicas of artworks. Not big showy ones, just little personal ones.
If it's a way of getting it sold, I don't mind. I just would never. I don't think I could have anything sculptural 3D on sale because it'd be like, I love it too much to have it. To have someone else have it.
Would you have it on display?
Yes. Like I've had. Obviously, I would have my sculptural work on display, but I couldn't done it.
Part with it.
That's the annoying thing about me. I'm very much like, this is my work. You can't have it.
Well, it's understandable, though. It's understandable. It's in the same way of, people interfering with work, something like that.
You have to be quite thick-skinned, I think, to want to sell sculpture work that you make.
Yeah.
So like, do you know, like, Neville Tatum and Martin? Have you heard of Neville Tatum and Martin Bridges? They're two potters. I
think I've heard of Martin Bridges.
Yeah, Martin Bridges. Showed me how to use silicone at Culture Institute when I was on my degree, and he's a potter, so he sells his work. Somehow, I guess he's learned to just he's like, somehow he must be quite thick-skinned to just want to sell his work, because he must. Yeah. Because obviously, for me, it's that attachment that I have to my work, whereas obviously he's able to just let it go.
Well, maybe there does need to be some kind of detachment, because I feel for me as well, one of the things that might hold me back a bit is, like, for instance, with me, I mean, most of my work is writing. I do sketching as well, but most of my work is writing. And there is this, I always have this feeling, and it can be a very crippling feeling of, it's not ready yet, or I'm never, 100% satisfied with it. Yeah. So I think at some point there does need to be some kind of detachment where you feel this is ready to go out. It's never going to be 100% perfect, because perfection doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm trying to reconcile with recently was I kind of had this strange realization. I think it was during the lockdown, because you have more quiet periods where you can have a lot of reflection. So I'm one of the things I thought about was, or one of the realizations I had, is that I don't think I'm going to be a professional artist. I actually doubt that I'm going to be a professional writer. I'm not saying it's impossible, but personally, I don't think I've put in enough work over the years to really see it through to fruition. Maybe that will change. Maybe my motivation will change, and maybe I'll surround myself with people who will, encourage me to be more productive. But I'm interested to know where you see yourself in terms of career-wise, where you see the future of your art going. Is it is this something that you see as a career, or is this something like me where I'm starting to look at a lot of myself? I'm starting to look at a lot of my work as a hobby, in the
Yeah,
way that
I
I
think it
think.
might be because um, yeah, I think it might be just a hobby. I think I mean, I wish I could just be able to just sell loads of sculptural work and stuff instead of just having prints. Um, but I don't know. I think it. Like I just recently got the job. For ages, I've been wanting a job, like a paid job, and obviously
Yeah.
I applied for First Sight again, and I got the job. But obviously now it's locked down, so
Yeah.
don't know.
Um, but this is the thing. My kind of philosophy is that you should. It depends what kind of person you are. If you're willing to live, again, you hear a lot of these artists' stories of living paycheck to paycheck, or sofa surfing, or living in poverty whilst trying to get their work sold. And for some, it eventually does work out. For others, probably the majority, it doesn't.
I feel like I've been quite lucky because I've been able
Yeah,
to live at home still. Um, so um, even though I haven't had a job, I've been able to just live at home and have me, mum, be with my mum and dad and my brother. So
I think it is important to have, like, for me personally, it's important to have paid work and also enough time to focus on these things, to
yeah, I
focus
feel
on
like
your work, because it could,
yeah,
in the end, I would love to do something professionally in this vein. um it's again, I think, with owing to the fact there's so much more uncertainty now, it's caused me to reflect a bit more and really ask myself some very difficult questions that beforehand I was not willing to answer. But
yeah,
to me now, it kind of feels like the best course of action for me going forward would to ensure that I have paid work, but I also have enough time, have enough personal time to focus on other outlets like this. Because I mean, that's something that is very characteristic of Britain, in my view, that we're a nation of people who, actually, a lot of people have like an artistic output of some kind. Lots of people that I know who work in various careers that aren't necessarily related to the arts, they still, I don't know, they find time on the weekends or in evenings to do things on the side. They do paintings and sculpture.
I like the idea that I could have this creative job. Um, hopefully I'll be able to start at some point. I don't know, at First Sight, and then have time to still be doing my podcasts.
Yeah.
And at least then the job that I'm having is creative still as well. So
Mm.
everything is still creative.
Yeah. I'd
So
like.
it's not like I've got a job which is not creative. That's what I've been worried about, not having a job that's creative, like working in a supermarket, for instance. It would be my ideal job, but if I had to, I guess I'd have to. But I've
Yeah.
been able to get this job at First Sight. I don't know when I'll start, and it's creative.
I see what you mean. I think there are some very big benefits of working in a field that is not necessarily your own, because
Yeah,
I'm a very creative person, but I have, since university, I've worked quite a few jobs, most of which are not what we deem creative ones. But from that, you get a very humbling experience, because, like we're seeing at the moment, where we're seeing who the real sort of key workers are, um, it is a very humbling experience. And because for me personally, I'm a storyteller, and you find a lot of stories still. You find a lot of these industries, whereas they're not what we'd maybe describe as creative, but at the same time, they are full of people. They're full of people with their own stories and their own, their own paths in life and their own goals. Everyone's had a day, a good or a bad one, and everyone's got dreams and hobbies and interests. And I've still found whatever job I'm working in to be rich with stories and also advice and experiences that have helped me out. I think a lot of these things are transferable. And for me personally, I think a lot of artists would benefit from having some, experiences from other work. It's very good to have these experiences, and it's very good to have different skills. Not just to fall back on, but also to work. Because for me personally, I like writing. Especially fiction. So if I want to have, because the characters really in my work are not usually. I like my characters to be quite realistic. So one of the things I would draw on is maybe experiences of working in blue collar jobs or manual jobs, things like that.
It does, it gives you a different perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But that's always been my worry, not to have a job that is creative still. But I guess it's not too. Maybe I shouldn't work so worried.
Well, you can find creative ways of doing other jobs. That's the thing; it always comes in handy.
I thought I wanted to be a TA because two of my friends were, but turns out I don't now. But I ended up doing this course, this free course locally, and I finished it like earlier this year. And I'm glad it's done now.
Yeah.
At least it's something for my CV as well that I can add to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I used to work in a call center for a couple of years, and whereas I hated the job, it kind of gave me the confidence to be able to talk to people like this and to be able to broadcast yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's what I was doing for a lot of it. And to be honest, the situations I was in, you didn't really have time to, to think about what and what not to say. It was very on the spot, kind of like this. I think they're very helpful in that regard.
Yeah, I'm quite authentic in that.
I
have no editing skills, and I'm quite lazy, so I'm just like very authentic. I just keep it raw.
Yeah, well, it's been really great talking to you, Roseanna. And
thanks, Alan. Yeah.
I hope everything goes well for you and stay productive.
Yes, you too.